Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Rex Rogosh, and let's queer up politics. Trans healthcare survives, for now, in GOP budget battle. The Senate has narrowly passed its version of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, so narrowly, in fact, that Vice President J.D. Vance had to step in to break the 50-50 tie earlier today. This version of the bill notably does not include the anti-transgender healthcare provision that were part of the House version passed last month. The House bill would have banned Medicaid, CHIP, and ACA exchange plans from covering gender-affirming care, measures that could have forced many trans people to detransition or go without care altogether. But the Senate parliamentarian ruled last week that those anti-trans provisions didn't qualify under the budget reconciliation rules. That meant they'd need 60 votes to pass, not 51. So Republicans quietly dropped them to move forward. According to independent journalist Erin Reed and Transitics writer Aleksandra, those provisions were removed at the last minute. A search of the bill's final text shows no mention of gender-affirming care. Still, the bill has major consequences. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office estimates it will add $3.3 trillion to the national debt, mostly due to tax cuts for the wealthy, and force 12 million people off of Medicaid. Out Senator Tammy Baldwin of Wisconsin blasted the bill, saying, quote, "Today I voted against rigging our tax code in favor of the biggest corporations and ultra-wealthy, all on the backs of working families who are just trying to get by and want a fair shot at success. Instead of standing up for these working families, my Republican colleagues jammed through a bill that guts Medicaid, kicks 17 million Americans off their health insurance, shutters rural hospitals, and takes food from families in need. And why? All to rig our already unfair tax code even more to help the rich get richer. I am disgusted," end quote. For the LGBTQ community, this vote brings a sigh of relief, but not a celebration. Gender-affirming care may be safe for now, but the fight for equitable health care isn't over. I mean, this entire bill in general is, the writing was on the wall and we knew that it was coming, and no one, including the Democrats, haven't stepped up to do anything about it. So the fact that it got through is crazy. And we had 3 votes at the very last minute from Republicans that said they weren't going to vote for it and did. Again, I talked about it earlier. Yeah. They talk and talk and talk, and then at the last minute they're afraid of pushback, so they go, "Okay, fine, I'll sign."
But they also get carve-outs. So,
but those carve-outs don't really help them.
No, I understand it's not worth it, but I mean, Murankowski has claimed that she's gotten a carve-out for her constituents.
Right. It says, her state is safe from not getting, kicked off of some of the health benefits. Right. But that doesn't protect
justify
her.
it.
It just does. Yeah, exactly. And someone said, we'll just fix it later. Well, it's not coming back later. No. There's nothing to fix. You voted. It's gone. Yes, this is great that somebody stood up and said what you're trying to push through with the trans health rights. You're not going to get the votes, and they knew they're not going to have the votes to get it, so therefore they took it out. Again, we've been talking about this for a long time. They're pulling at the lowest fruit, the 1%. Yep. They're saying, "Hey, we're going after trans people." It's not about the trans people. No. It's about having something that's the 1% of America, but it has the largest kind of target on it, allows them to also sneak in other things.
Right.
Because everyone's going to talk about that. Well, finally somebody stood up and said, "No, that's not right." So, I mean, look, it's up for vote again. Right. So we've got to, I personally wrote to not only my representatives, but I actually wrote to every representative of every state that I ever lived in, which was 8 of them.
Wow.
So, and I wrote to all of them and figured out a way to write to them, because some of their websites won't allow you to write to them unless you're in their state or city or jurisdiction. So I pulled up my old addresses and used it. Wow. And in my letter, I said, I did say I was a former constituent. But, it was really a way for my voice to be heard to as many people. And I didn't care if the representative was Democratic or Republican.
Good for you.
That's activism.
That's activism. I told them, this is not right.
Yeah, right.
So, and more people need to, start to stand up, because there's a lot of us, we can talk here and you can watch this news program. and we can complain about it over the water cooler, but if you're not actually writing to the people that you're voting into office and calling them to talk to them, Kamala Harris just came out and said, hey guys, you need to call this number right now. If you don't do that, the bitching that you're doing right now is no good.
Moot, yeah.
It's a moot point.
And don't forget, there's another march on July 4th.
Yes.
Another protest march. As I like to call it, the bleach blonde, bad-built, butch body bill act will likely be a death sentence for many and will likely do irreparable damage to the country, but at least it keeps a smile on the faces of rotten Russell Vought and his evil coven at the Heritage Foundation. Good for them.
Again, show up, support, go do the marches, but more than that, please call your representatives if you have a problem with this bill, or any other thing or piece of legislation that they're trying to pass that is against our community and the community at large. And that is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.